What it do, what it do. Welcome to the inaugural edition of the Big Black Sports Show. I am Kevin Barnes. I know you're normally used to seeing me here hosting Outlaw Radio, but tonight what we're going to do is a little bit different. Tonight I'm going to bring back something that I did a couple of years ago, actually. Shout out to my man T Brad when T Brad was one of the Outlaws, and we did the Big Black Sports Show. We're going to talk about what the Big Black Sports Show is all about. Hit like, hit share, hit follow, let your friends know the show is on. But other than that, welcome aboard.
How's it going?
Well, I'm not alone, as you can tell, so I want everybody to know I was supposed to have a guest here tonight, and we do have the brother Rick Muhammad who may or may not join us as we move along. But my co-host here is none other than my brother Larry Purdue. My brother, tell these people about yourself.
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to be here. Thanks for joining us on the Big Black Sports Show. I'm Coach Tank Purdue. I'm a local high school football coach. I'm an author, the co-owner of Purdue Catering, and I'm a fellow Milwaukeean citizen. How you guys doing?
All right, man. Welcome to the show, my brother. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
So what this is all about? People say, well, why would you want to do a sports show, Kevin, when you normally do something as serious as Outlaw Radio? I wanted to talk about sports, and as a black man and a member of our community, I want to talk about the importance of sports, and I want people to understand that sports has a very important social context attached to it. And any of you out there who have children, in particular, if you have a son or a daughter who chooses to play sports, basketball, tennis, whatever it is, it becomes kind of like a route to salvation for your family and the community. You get a lot of notoriety through sports, right? Like, so a lot of people, the quote from Biggie is either you're slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot, right? So a
Sure.
lot of us feel like sports is our way out in our community, which is impoverished. We know the black community is impoverished.
Right.
You start to aspire at an early age. Well, I'm gonna go to the NBA. I'm gonna go to the NFL. And one of the issues that we have in our community is that we don't aspire to own these organizations. We aspire to play for them, and we
Right.
encourage our children. Yeah, go out there and play, and we'll support. Like my son, I'm also a former football coach. My son played Pee Wee sports all the way from the age of 6 to where he is now, and he's a high school football player now. So I've seen the development of this, whether it be AAU basketball, Pop Warner football. I've coached Pee Wees, I've coached high school kids, so I've seen how it intertwines. So we're going to talk about all that tonight. Of course, you know we're going to talk about them goddamn Packers losing in the playoffs, choking
Hey,
again. We're going to talk about the Bucks,
hey.
and we're going to talk about a little bit of everything. See that phone number scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Give us a call if you want to get involved in the conversation. That chat room is active, so a lot of people will choose to sit in the chat room. But sports is something that brothers always, we love to talk about sports. You go sit in the barbershop, we in there talking shit and swallowing spit when it comes
Exactly.
to talking about sports. So welcome aboard. What's going on, my brother?
Yo, is somebody with us?
No, I'm talking to you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I thought you had
Well,
something you wanted to add.
but I'm fine. I thought somebody was coming on with us. No, I'm fine. I'm doing.
What?
I'm doing very well. Um, well, we took a loss. We took an L this weekend, but I'm still a diehard fan. I'm still Packer bred. I'm still rolling with the Packers. And hey, what can I say? I'm just waiting for the Super Bowl now. Now
Well,
I can watch the Super Bowl without stress.
well, there's a lot of people who hate the Packers, so we know that they were waiting on a loss. And all you damn Chicago Bears fans, Minnesota Vikings fans, fans around the league. First of all, understand that there's only a select group of teams left at the end of the year, and if your team wasn't one of them, you need to shut up, right? Like, so
Right.
you and some
Exactly.
people just prey on the Packers failing. So
Exactly.
we're gonna talk about that tonight. We're gonna talk about
Yeah.
that, and we're gonna talk about
Definitely.
what next year looks like for the Packers. We're gonna talk about the
Man.
Bucks. We're gonna talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. But I know
Right.
everybody said they want to talk about the Packers, so we're gonna get into that tonight.
Let's do it.
So first of all, I want to take a look at sports overall for all my people out there. And once again, this show, and as we move along, what you'll discover is this show is not just about the scores. That's always important. But I want to talk about, like I said, I want to talk about sports as a construct in our country. First of all, we have to understand that in the United States of America, we have four major sports, right? And like so, economically, $20 billion is earned every year through sports, right? Like, so we
Wow.
talk about what our biggest leagues are, and I'm gonna go over those. But $20 billion is pumped into our economy every year via sports, right? Because Americans pay big. We pay to attend the games. We buy the apparel. We watch it on television. They get television deals, and out of that 20 billion, black people have a very small percentage. We check a very small percentage. We tend to look at our brothers and sisters who play, and of course they get $1 million contracts, and I'm aware of that. But we look at them and we say, hey, he's rich or she's famous. They get a little fame, but the average athlete retires from the NFL broke. I think it's 80+% of the NFL players are broke within 3 to 5 years of them leaving the league. The NBA is a little bit different because the NBA has guaranteed money. But a lot of them have money problems. We've seen like Antoine Walker, who blew over $95 million in his career. So many players, even here, Latrell Sprewell, who's a brother from Milwaukee, who went to the NBA and was, played for a while. More famous, more infamous than famous for choking PJ Carlissimo. But he was one too who he made millions, and we looked up and we saw, home being foreclosed, boat being repossessed, stuff like that. So $20 billion is generated by sports. Now, the funny part is we don't even have the top earning sport on this earth is soccer. America, in particular, black people, we're not really soccer heads like that. There's pro soccer here. Professional soccer leagues have had a hard time kind of earning their footing in America over the years because we don't just, to us, football is American football. Right. A lot of people think football is global, but it's not. It's American football. They call soccer football in Europe and around the globe. But I wanted to go over some figures, Tank, just to give people a perspective as to why I said, okay, I want to do a sports show, okay? And people say, Kev, why you want to do a sports show? Because I think it's something. Number one, there's been a lot of you can see a lot of unification when it comes to sports, because even last year when the Bucks were in the championship, we saw a lot of white people who would never step foot in Milwaukee show up.
Exactly.
Right.
Definitely
and so,
to see.
Yeah, and you'll never see him down there again. You'll never see him again unless the Bucks go to the playoffs. But sports has the ability to unite people. I mean, you look at little ass Green Bay. A lot of black people go up there. There's some people of color living in Green Bay, but a lot of black people go to Green Bay to see the game, like they want to go to Lambeau. So I wanted to talk about how much each individual league makes. The NFL generates $13 billion a year. The National Football League, $13 billion. The NBA is $7.4 billion. Major League Baseball, $10 billion. Okay? And even with the NCAA, which is college, which is supposed to be amateur sports, $11.5 billion. Right?
So let me interrupt you for a second there. So football is that much more popular than basketball. Because basketball play 10 times more games? It's an 82-game season in pro basketball, and just recently a 17-game season in football, and it makes that many 7 more billion? 6 more billion?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Well, you have to understand.
I did not know that. I did not realize football was that much more popular.
Well, you have to understand that the NFL's marketing strategy has been very effective. Now, like you said, they play less games. The season is shorter, right?
Right.
But because there's less games, you look at the average NFL stadium. It's at least 60,000 people, and there's some that are bigger. Their television deals are bigger. The NFL does a great job of creating what fans like, which is drama, because there's drama. There's only so many games, and so there's so much anticipation for each game. And there's so many fan affiliations to each team. So the NFL's marketing strategy, even though they don't have the world or global reach that the other sports have, they do have a lock on American society. So they get more viewers, they get more participation. Okay, so yes. And at one point, Major League Baseball, we know people say Major League Baseball is America's game, right? At one point, they were the largest earners. They were the major sport, but the NFL overtook them. Via television and things like that in the late 60s and the early 70s. Television and football go together like cheese and burgers, right? They go together because you can put all the commercials in there You can like I said, create that drama, and with the cameras and the camera angles now, you think about it. The most popular sport that we have, the players wear helmets. So a lot of these players, you can see them in the store. If not for them being super large human beings, you would know who they were, right? Like, because there's a
Right.
lot of anonymity. So football is the largest sport. Of course, we know in the black community, basketball is now and always has been probably. I think
Yeah.
in well, it depends on where you're from. Because in the South, football is religion.
That's true.
Where we're at, basketball is pretty much king, right? Like where
Right.
it gets cold and people don't want to be outside in the snow and shit.
It's your gym.
Basketball is king.
Mandatory
So yeah, the
gym. Yep.
NBA makes a lot of money. So they make 7.4 billion. Major League Baseball makes 10. I didn't include NASCAR because NASCAR's figures I didn't have access to them, but they generate billions of dollars too. NASCAR is a little bit different because you have to have access to the technology, the cars and whatnot, to get involved with NASCAR. So eventually we'll get to NASCAR because it has redneck traditions, and so
Right.
we'll get into that. And the NHL, which is a world, they don't make as much money as the other sports. They only make 5.3 billion, but they are
Okay.
famous around the world. So hockey is a global game. Like, look at the Olympics and you see the sports that are in the Olympics. Those are the sports that are considered global. That's why American football is not in the Olympics, if you've ever noticed that,
Right.
because there's a lot of places on this earth that they don't play it. I'm looking at my chat room. Shout out to y'all for being there. Shout out to Kevin for the new show. This brother Che. What's going on, brother Che? I see my brother Shabaka saying, Core, y'all share the show. Let people know that the Big Black Sports Show is going down tonight. I had a guest. He wasn't able to be here. My man Rick Bradley, he was supposed to be here, who's an AAU coach, because I want to get into AAU and all of that too. But so I said I gave you these figures so that we can have perspective on what sports mean in this country. Anything that's generating $20 billion. Okay. Now, once again, we get into who owns these teams. We get into who plays in these leagues. The NFL is probably 85% black, if not 90% black.
Right.
They have no black owners, very few black executives, and as we speak, there's only one black head coach. The NBA is a little bit more liberal. They have had, Robert Johnson from BT was the first black owner. Michael Jordan is an owner now, but they only have one black owner. If you know of another one, please let me know. But the NBA is another league that's probably 90% black. So when you look at the NCAA, which, like I stated, the NCAA generates $11.5 billion. Okay. Deion Sanders right now, what he's doing and trying to popularize HBCU sports can be looked at as a revolution. But he is not even close to scratching the surface, because you still cannot challenge Alabama, Texas A&M, Georgia,
Exactly.
Miami, Florida. You can't challenge those
Power
teams, the
five.
SEC. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
And it comes down to resources. And it comes down to what they have. Those players, top 5-star recruits have. They go to HBCU and look at these poorly funded campuses that don't have the ability to get them the access to go pro. And then they go to Alabama, which is a football factory, when you got a
Right.
$5, $6, $7 million training program just for the football players.
Right.
But you have to understand, those bowl game victories and those appearances generate millions of dollars for those schools.
Exactly.
So half that campus has been rebuilt and modified because of the sports teams, the basketball team going to the Final Four, things of that nature. So I hope people are seeing the way sports connect, and like money. It's a big money game, and we've been exploited. Like I said, poor people. What do you have to aspire to? You know what I mean? Like, you grow up, you're not getting offers to go to Harvard. You don't have opportunities to go to Ivy League schools. But if you're fast, if you're big, you're strong, you can go to Wisconsin. It costs probably $50,000 a year to attend the University of Wisconsin-Madison, right? And they don't have, I think they're 3 to 5% minority in terms of their population. But you look at their football and basketball team and their track team, now that's where the majority of the black students are. So,
very well diverse.
right, well, yeah.
Athletic programs all of a sudden, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want people to understand when we talk about sports. Yeah, we're going to talk about the scores. I look at the league, the NFL right now. I played college football. I didn't get a chance to play big time college football, but I was able to play, some Division two, some good, some higher level. I
Right,
had a great time. Got a scholarship, paid for my undergrad degree. And so, I understand that as you get out of high school and you start to move through the ranks and you move up, it becomes a money game because I was playing for my tuition. I was
right,
playing so that they would pay for my, room and board. I was paying so that I could get an education. And I went to a D2 school, so it's not like we were generating money for the school. But I I still was able to go to the school. If it wasn't for football, they wouldn't have touched me because I wasn't a good
right.
student. You know what I mean? So I love football. Football saved my life. I coached football here in the city for 12 years,
Exactly.
high school football and Pee Wee League football. But when I look at the professional leagues, I look at the hypocrisy of the NFL. The NFL is ripe with racism.
Yes.
First and foremost, Colin Kaepernick still ain't got a job. He proved that there was collusion once he kneeled and he took a stance. And there's so many hypocritical stances around Colin Kaepernick taking that knee and the NFL basically blackballing him. I see them go and get bum quarterbacks out the gutter and bring them in the league. And this brother ain't touched a football in 5, 6 years. So it's kind of hard for me to cheer for the NFL. You have no black owners, one black coach. And it's owned by rich, good old boy white men. So, it's hard for me to cheer for the NFL. I just want to put that out there. So
It's difficult some days when you think about it. When you take the fanfare out of it, and you come to grips with how serious the situation is. And yeah, a lot of times I do feel guilty. Some days I'm watching TV and I'm like, damn. For years, this league has treated my people like shit, but I'm still dedicated to watching it every Sunday. It's like
right,
it just has some type of grip or hold on you where you know it's wrong, but it still feels kind of right. And it's like, how do you deal with that? And one of the things I thought about was like a couple of years ago when the situation with Kaepernick was really just out of control. Um, I thought, hey, I can maintain my love for football, but I just don't have to support the NFL. I can watch high school football. I can watch college football, but then again, college is pretty much on the same scale as the NFL. So,
right.
you know,
Well,
I don't know.
there was a point where people were talking about let's boycott the NFL, which and it was at a time when I was pretty active in some social justice groups and on the front lines, and I kind of supported that. But I'm from Wisconsin, and one of my some of my fondest memories growing up were watching the Packer games with my dad.
Right.
So I've watched literally every Packer game for the last 35 years. And like I said, I mean, I agree with you when you say at times I felt like as a person who's socially conscious and socially aware, should I be watching this? Should I be supporting this? But the way I did it was I wouldn't watch any other game except for the Packer game. I'm not justifying what I did. First of all,
Uh,
or what I do. I don't purchase any Packer apparel. I don't take my ass to Green Bay because I'm not in a hurry to sit in freezing temperatures. I'd rather watch the game from home. And so, like I said, I don't really watch other teams. Now it's the playoffs, so because I'm like you. Like I say, okay, well, I watch college and I watch high school, but I can't stand to watch bad football. Me just being a player,
right.
I know the game, so I want to see it executed at a high level. So I find myself watching the game on TV, right? And so, but do you feel guilty about being entertained? I mean, at the same time, I listen to certain music that probably has negative messages that we don't own. We don't own the entities that produce the music or the movies. By and large, we black people in America don't really own shit. Most of the time, we're customers, and this is the problem. In the league, we're customers. We're players, but we're not owners, right? So
Right.
this is the conflict that we face, and you want to tell. Like I see now, people are saying if we really want to boycott something, how those brothers in the NFL boycott the Super Bowl. When Colin was being mistreated, people were saying, "Well, tell those brothers don't play." But you're looking at brothers who it's all they know. It's all they've done. And it's the way that they're changing the narrative for their families. Like we've been dirt poor because generational poverty is real as hell, especially in the city of Milwaukee and, urban America. Black people live, we live on the bottom and we're bottom feeders and we're scraping the bottom economically for the most part. So you're looking for any way that you can get out of this situation. This is why brothers do things out of desperation, robbing places, drugs, crime. We looking for a way like, goddamn, I want to change this cycle. So sports becomes super important for us. My son, I didn't expect him to be an athlete. I really didn't. When he was young, I said, I did that. That's what I did. I won't put any pressure on him. Luckily, I don't even know if I want to say luckily, but graciously, what he decided is that he loved sports and he was around it because I was a coach. So he chose to play sports. So I've been around a lot of people brothers and sisters who live vicariously through their children. And they look at that child early on and say, you're going to go to the NFL or you're going to go to the NBA. You're going to save us. And I'm like, nah, that's dumb. And you don't put that pressure on a child if you want to enjoy the game. I mean, because it's a thrill to see my son out there doing his thing. And I feel like that's my boy right there. If my daughter played, it'd be the same thing. She just never did. But it's a good thing to see. Yeah, if it's something that he's passionate about, I'm here to support him and make sure but there's no pressure on him to say, well, if you don't make it to the NFL, then we ain't gonna be shit. Because, we've already secured what we need to secure as adults, my wife and I, in terms of making sure we got what we need. So, I mean, no, I don't have millions, but I'm okay. I ain't got no issues, right? But I see a lot of people and I understand it. In the hood, that's what it is. It's anything that I can do to get the fuck up out of here. So sports becomes this thing. And so you go into school and you want to go to college? Because I know my mom told me early on, do you like playing football? I said, yeah. She said, are you good at it? I said, yeah. She said, well, if you want to go to college, you better be damn good because we don't have no money to send your ass to school. So I knew if I wanted to go to college, I had to get my ass out there and ball. Yeah, so yeah, man, yeah. And see, that should be the most important thing is that you receive opportunity. And I can say to my son, like, I don't care about the pros, but I'm aware that there's a lot of money that you can earn by playing. And if you love that sport, because if you don't want to play a sport, but you still want to go to school, as your father, I'm still going to say we got to find a way. Right. Find a way to get it paid for. So,
like Kev, kids that I coach and kids that I train, I tell them all the time, use your love for the sport as a way to get an education. And I love it with them, and I let them know exactly how hard it is to make it to the pros. And once you make it to the pros, it's not guaranteed that you're going to be there long enough to earn enough money to change your life. So use your love for the sport to get that education, so then you're not back at home trying to get jobs, trying to get temporary jobs and shit like that. Use your love for the game to get an education and better your situation. And that's what I put them on the time.
One thing I always tell kids when it comes to sports is that eventually your ass will get old enough where you ain't gonna be able to play no more. Right. So it's fine. Even if you go pro, you can't play pro forever. So you got to be prepared for the rest of your life. And the average NFL career is about 3.5 years.
Right.
Basketball is a little bit longer. Yeah. So it's not your window of opportunity. And I'm gonna be honest with you, football is a young man's game. Basketball players, they have an advantage in that when they get older, they can still go to the gym and shoot around. You see an old dude in there, he's shooting the ball. When you a football player, first of all, most of the time when you old, something wrong with your ass. My leg don't, one leg longer than the other one, my shoulder don't, but I can't pick nothing up, and my thumbs is connected, and shit like that. So, but you can't go out and play football. I used to come home especially when I first graduated from college. I would come home and brothers in the hood would be like, "Yeah, Kev, we're gonna play football at King on Saturday. Why don't you come up there?" Right. And I'd be like, "Bruh, I would never play football without a helmet again."
I remember those Saturdays at King too.
Yeah, and that's how I learned. But when I became older, after because once I played organized ball, I learned how to play with equipment on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nah, I'm not. I won't ever play without a helmet. Like because I realized, what the collisions and stuff were about. So yeah, I mean, and sports can teach you a lot of things for a lot of young men. And and
Right.
and when we talk about this, the injuries, the brain injuries that a lot of NFL players end up with, because they say every football player is like a car accident, right? When you play basketball, you're putting so much stress on your knees. Like most basketball players' knees are shot
Right.
because you put so much stress on your joints, and so you end up with these injuries. So when we talk about that, we have to tell them, be aware of the risk too,
Right.
and be safe. And this is why I disagree when a lot of brothers go to school and they say, "Man, I'm not here for school. I'm just here just to play ball," because there's a possibility you won't make it to the pros, and you
Exactly.
may end up, your body might be racked when you're done. So we have to be aware of that too with our kids. I know a lot of people. My son played at a time tackle football when a lot of people were keeping their kids out because they have the brain injuries and stuff like that. And
Right.
I
Right.
just tried my best to keep him safe. Some people came to me and said, my son played tag. I let him play flag, but I would never let him play with. I was like, look, I'm okay. I played. Like I said, I grew up going to King. Even when they had a stadium, sneaking in the stadium, we playing on the field, our block
Right.
against your block, and it
Right.
was full contact.
Right.
And so for a lot of young men, sports can be the source of discipline. I heard Chris Carter when they
Yes.
asked him, now that you know the risks when it comes to brain injuries and stuff like that, the CTE, um, people, Chris Carter said, well, I look at my life and I say, well, football provided me with so much stuff that I didn't have. Father figures, structure, discipline, motivation, got me out the ghetto. I was able to get my mama out the projects. I changed the cycle of poverty for my entire family.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that. A lot of young brothers, they learn that.
Yes.
I have so
I
many
mean,
young men, and I know you know this as a coach, so many young men that we've coached 10, 11 years ago come now, and they share to you or they talk to you about the lessons they learned from you.
yes.
So you, in essence, become a mentor for those youngsters, and they'll say,
Yes.
I've had kids say to me, Coach Barnes, if I never met you, I don't know where I would be,
Yo.
and so I have kids that I got to college that would have never seen a university. So
Right.
sport, it is, it's a very, very important part
Well,
of our community.
yeah, a lot goes into being the coach. It's more than X's and O's. It's so much that goes into it. And it
Right.
does wear at your heart. You know what I'm saying? It can get heavy.
Yeah, especially when you lose, because we see like right here in Milwaukee where we just lost a young brother, E. Dan Carson,
Yeah,
who played
man.
for us at,
Yeah.
at Washington High School, who was a good kid. I don't know
Yeah.
what happened. E. Dan was murdered.
And I
He's
gotta
I,
mention, I gotta mention more recent than that. Marion Allen, rest in peace. Shout out to his
mm-hmm.
family. And, also, I heard that his mother was trying to put together a commemorative football game for her son in honor of her
Okay.
son. So yeah, I'll keep up the tabs with that. How that turns out. But yeah, shout out to him, man. He was a standout athlete at Marshall, and yeah, man, we lost him to senseless violence too.
Okay. Yeah, rest in peace to that brother. I heard a lot of people say a lot of good things about him. I
Yeah,
seen a lot of footage. He seemed to be pretty talented. And
very talented, great young man.
yeah,
You know,
okay.
and my time with him was very short. I didn't get, I got to Marshall after his senior year when I met him, and I spoke with him a couple of times. And I mean, this kid was just, it was a shock when I heard, the he had lost his life, man. And yeah, man, it's sad that even when our kids are in a position to get these opportunities, they still come home and fall victim to the streets. And
Right.
it's hard to try to keep them focused and keep them out of harm when Milwaukee is so crazy right now.
Yeah, Milwaukee eats its young.
Yes.
And it's very hard. I want people to know that it's very hard to be a coach, a youth coach. That's why I big up anybody. That's why I was trying to bring Rick Bradley on tonight, because he's an AAU coach and he's a mentor. My son actually plays on his AAU team, and I see him
Right.
providing mentorship for a lot of young brothers. And this is something that's very much needed in our community. That's why, and that's another reason why I always big up any coach. And I see some coaches where, me being a coach, I'm just, I'm like, he's a clown. You don't know what the hell he's doing. But I always have to give it up for them sacrificing and donating their time to young brothers and sisters to try and help them out of this maze. Because for some of these kids, we have to be honest, that's all they have. That's all they have is athletics. Now, you wrote a book, so you talked about being an author, and I want people to be able to hear about your book. Talk about your book a little bit.
Okay, so I wrote a book titled Fullback. Fullback was the position I played in high school. And fullback is also a position in football that is now slowly becoming extinct. They don't use the position anymore. And back in the days, the fullback was one of the most important positions on the football field. And you had to be a certain type of person, had to have a certain type of build and a certain type of grit about yourself to play the position. And it also played a metaphor is that, I had to be tough as a fullback in life as I had to be on the football field to be successful. And and I pretty much wrote the book is because of some of the things that I'm seeing over my years of coaching. How I've seen some really good athletes that really don't have a grasp on what they want to do after football and after school. And they go by the wayside. And there's so many of them that it's happening to, especially our athletes in the city, and that concerned me so much. It was just alarming to me how some of the kids don't have opportunities when they're done here in the conference.
Right. And I want to just say too, we go as city conference players basketball now. The city used to be dominant in basketball. Now they get the same treatment as football when they go, because the suburbs they're equipping their children more. Their investment in facilities and resources is greater. So you go the first weekend of the playoffs, you go and get your ass handed to you in the suburbs, and they take great pleasure in watching this happen. In Wisconsin's one of the only states. Well, it's not the only one. I'll take that back, but it's a state where there's no fear, no intimidation factor for the black athlete. Where in other states, you go to Texas, you see a bunch of big country swole brothers come out. It's like, whoa, shit, this might be a long day. Right. And so we don't have the sophistication, and we don't have the programs here that we need to have. And so that was part of the reason that I kind of quit coaching, is because I was so frustrated with the structure or the lack thereof. And a lot of our kids, because of socioeconomic conditions, don't have the dedication, and they don't have the ability to be dedicated because I had to keep my little brother and sister while my mama tried to go and work, or it's just so many different social conditions that our children deal with.
Kids don't have. The suburban kids don't have to worry about that. They got nannies, they got chefs, and they got they actually in waiter service. They have these things at their disposal. So they actually have no outside worries at all when it comes to just being dedicated to playing their sport. That's all they're expected of. That's all they're expected to do at home. You know what I'm saying?
And a lot of those kids they're going to school anyway, so they realize I'm not playing for a scholarship. I'm playing, for the glory of it. My little small town where I play in is so it's different motivations. So I want people to.
I was going to say they're playing for granddad, or great uncle. They're playing for all the family that went to the school before them. You got to keep that heritage going. You got to keep that going. That tradition. All of the boys played football that went to this school. So that's pretty much.
And there has to be a change in the way we do things here in the city, so that our athletic programs can really get engaged in what I like to refer to as youth development. Because believe it or not, when you coach a sport, it's really not about wins and losses. It's really about youth development. Yes. Usually, if you do effective youth development, you get more dubs than you get L's.
Right.
But you have to be effectively developing these young men and women into young adults. And so when you get caught up in it, it's just about wins or losses, then you start to kind of sacrifice our kids. and you start to produce kids that don't really have a future. Well, the future looks a little bit dimmer just because of the way they approach this. So I want people to stop downplaying sports, and I want people to stop downplaying athletes. In particular, I would like to see the black athlete be more accountable for his or her community. There are a lot of athletes who are socially conscious, but I feel like our black celebrities on a whole, not just athletes, are not responsible or held accountable enough to our community. Like if we live in a time where we have more black billionaires and millionaires than we ever have had, why do we have failing schools? Why do we have hungry people in poverty in our communities when these individuals can put money together and create avenues for us? We still depend on the white man's tit for everything. And it's ridiculous that we don't pool our resources. You got cats who make, we have black billionaires right now. So I feel like that money should be invested somehow, some of that money. I'm not telling you what to do with your money, obviously, but if you got more than you'll ever need, why wouldn't you develop some sort of infrastructure for the development of black youth? So you go to an HBCU and you say, hey, let's get the same kind of resources that these bigger schools have. That's why I love what Deion Sanders does.
Right.
But I'm also being told that it ultimately will fail because the HBCUs just won't have the resources to compete. Now, a lot of 5-star, 4-star recruits are going and committing to HBCUs now. And a lot of people don't understand that at one point, historically, the NFL didn't admit they wouldn't let black players play. So, and most Division I colleges, in particular in the South, wouldn't allow black players to play. And so Eddie Robinson at a school like Grambling or those black colleges have so many NFL Hall of Famers who weren't even drafted.
Right.
Who, came in and were a free agent on the team and made the team and ended up being Hall of Famers. But once that opened up, once Bear Bryant took the University of Alabama out to California to play USC, which was a team full of black athletes, and he did it on primetime television, and they beat the hell out of Alabama, and then the SEC started admitting black athletes. And once they did that, the floodgates opened.
Yep.
So you get what you see now. And that's another thing about Wisconsin. They're still traditionally one of the only teams that has mostly white dudes. Like Wisconsin doesn't have black quarterbacks. They don't, and all this stuff is not by accident. This stuff is by design.
Let's not forget Russell Wilson for a year. We did have Russ for a year.
At the time they had Russ, it was before Sierra. He wasn't. I don't think he was necessarily with us yet.
We had Russ for 1 year, and actually we had Russ for 1 year, and Russ was actually a Heisman finalist for a few weeks.
Yeah, Russ was kind of ish. He was kind of blackish at that time. Russ was still, he was still finding himself, right? And there's a brother that they just signed from I want to say Franklin High School who just committed to go to Wisconsin.
Supposed to be the best. I think Miles.
I don't know his name. I think that might be his name. They won state. They said he was just the best football player in the whole state. So we'll see how that works if he gets there and they say, well, guess what? You playing receiver. Because this is what they do with us traditionally. And we even look at one point, they wouldn't even let brothers play quarterback in the NFL. Like, so this is the kind of shit that we've had to deal with. And that's what the Big Black Sports Show is here to do. Is kind of remind you of where we've come from, or where we come from with sports. Racism it's apparent in sports just like any other thing in America. And I feel like there should have been way more social movements to force the NFL's hand. They have a Rooney Rule where you have to interview a black coach, but you still only have one black one. And Mike Tomlin, when he was losing, even though he has a Super Bowl victory and he's never had a losing season, he lost a couple games and they would say, "Oh, you gonna go coach in college?" And I love Mike Tomlin's response by saying, "Go ask one of these white coaches that." You know what I mean? So, a lot of racism involved with sports. But it still, once again, remains an avenue for us to kind of get over the hump. You were talking about your book. I read your book. I thought one of the great things about your book is that how you paralleled your struggles in life off the field, and football was a motivating factor for you. It didn't necessarily end up like you wanted it to.
Right.
Especially, I love your comparison of saying football was like a woman. Like it was like a relationship. Like, you just, no matter how bad she did you and you left her, you just kept coming back, and she'd break your heart again, but you kept coming back, right?
Get him
My
up,
my
brother.
experience with football was similar.
Get him up,
I
brother.
had got so much out of it. I got so much out of it. I didn't get all that I wanted out of it, but I got so much out of it.
Right.
Sports and most athletes that I talk to have the same experience. Like Kev,
Yeah.
I didn't get necessarily what I wanted, but I got this out of it. I got
I,
that out of it.
I
So
agree, man. I agree. I got so much more than I bargained for. I can say, once I got resiliency and I got determination from it, and I
okay,
got this, and it taught me self discipline. So
okay,
three very important things you need in life. You know,
yeah, and it got me out of the hood at a very volatile time.
yeah,
And I would go off to school and come home, and I would have 2, 3 homies dead when
yeah,
I would come back, and I would be so happy that damn, I'm glad that I can remember being on road trips and just kind of on a Saturday morning, waking up, going to sleep on the bus, getting somewhere and thinking, I wonder what the homeboy's doing right now. I wonder what the homies doing. Like I knew
yeah,
they was probably somewhere getting geeked or whatever he's doing.
yeah,
And I'm like, I'm in like this little ass place or this town or this school for to play this game. So it
right.
gave me a lot of perspective. I went to North Dakota from
Mm,
Milwaukee at first. And that was the first time I'd ever been anywhere where there wasn't sirens. Like late at night, it almost drove me crazy at first. I'm like, there's no sirens. Like, what the hell is going on? So, but it expanded my perspective, and I discovered that the world is way bigger than Capitol Drive, and
right.
it's a lot of people and a lot of places that you could go and meet, and. So it was a great thing. I do want to talk about the goddamn Packers. I see you. That's what we have
Hey,
to talk about. People say you're doing a sports show. You got to talk about the Packers.
I'm done crying, man. I'm done mourning. I'm done
Okay.
crying. I'm done complaining. I'm still a true Blue fan. And hey, I can't wait till next season start.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I picked the 49ers to win that game before the
Oh,
game because, and I'm gonna tell you why. I picked the 49ers because when I looked at the 49ers, first
right.
of all, people got to understand styles make fights. And I ain't even talk about boxing. Boxing is my, outside of football, boxing is my other, not MMA, but
Football
boxing, the
too.
sweet science.
Football
I,
too.
I, I love boxing, right?
Right.
So, but in boxing, they have a saying, and it says styles make fights.
Right.
You have a fighter who may be 35-0, 37-0, knocking everybody out, whooping everybody ass.
Right.
He comes to a fight with somebody who may be 26-5. They've lost 5 fights, lost a couple title bouts, but they have a style, and it's a style that's pretty bad. It gives this champ a hard time.
Right.
So you get this fight starts, and you expecting this the champ to come in there and just drop this dude, and he's having so many problems because maybe this individual is a southpaw,
Or
and
he
he's
got a shoulder
awkward.
roll. He got a mean shoulder roll on him or something.
Right. He has a style that throws off, and He ends up beating the champ. He ends up, taking his belt, and you think, well, he's just having an off night. Get a rematch. He beat him again,
Right.
and then he fights a fighter after him and gets knocked out. And you say, what the fuck? Styles make fights, okay?
Right.
And when I looked at the Packers, the style of football that they play, and the style of football that the 49ers play, I said this is a bad matchup for anybody in the NFL, really. The 49ers present a tremendous problem because they are super physical and they have a front seven. See, people love to see touchdowns. Defense wins championships. And the 49ers rushed 3 people, and the
Right.
Packers could not block them. They rushed 3 men, maybe sometimes 4. They didn't even have to blitz. So people say why Aaron Rodgers wasn't throwing the ball. Well, because I'm only blitzing 3 people. I can drop 8 people in the coverage. You ain't throwing shit,
Right.
right? So
Which,
they were
and I
too
agree.
physical for the Packers.
I agree. I agree. That's exactly what happened. And they got away from running the football. They got away from running the football. You, you control the game by controlling the clock. You control the clock by running the ball. We got, to me, in my opinion, we got the best backfield in the league. We got a speed back and a power back. And
Well,
early in the
Dylan got
game,
hurt.
early, Dylan got hurt, but Jones is, come on, Jones is a dog. You know what I'm saying? He proved the year before that he can be the bell cow if he has to be. So keep running the rock.
Right.
Why do all of a sudden we just started deciding we wanted to pass the ball? You know what I'm saying? We weren't down that bad. So
Okay. You know what I think? I think you have to keep them honest, Tank. You got to keep them honest. Like, you got to run that ball, but you got to throw it too. And the
right,
thing that the Packers, the reason why LaFleur was out coached is because anytime your quarterback is under duress and you're going to throw the ball, you got to go to short passes. You got to get the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hand. And now we were down Bakhtiari, and I believe we were down Elton Jenkins, who are two of the best NFL players, two of the best offensive linemen in the league. And I gotta believe that if they were healthy, and they weren't healthy,
right.
but they couldn't block them. They just couldn't block the 49ers. The 49ers were too physical. The
But
second part of this is the special teams. If you
the
don't
most
know
important part of
football,
football, the most
it's
important part of
exactly
football.
yes, one
Yes,
of them. One of them.
yes.
It's one of them, right?
But in the playoffs, it can be the most important. Case in point, look at us. Two botches. A
Right.
missed field goal and a block punt. And we've been
I
having these issues all year. So, what is going on with our special teams coach?
I don't, it's a brother too. Steve Slayton is a brother. And like I was
Yeah,
talking to one of my partners who knows football very well, and he was saying that, you have to have the players. Like, who knows because at the end they only had
yeah,
10 men on the field. But you name a pro football game that you've seen in the last forever where you saw a blocked field goal and a blocked punt in the same game. This is a monumental meltdown. Like, this is like LaFleur, the head coach LaFleur said, he took the blame for it, and he said, that just can't happen. And I told him it can't, especially in a playoff game at home.
right,
You're the number one seed. You just can't. You can't. And it did. But
right.
in football, we also have something that we refer to as complementary football, which means if the defense is playing well, then the offense has to score. And if the defense is playing poorly, then the offense has to score.
Sure.
We didn't play I'm saying we like I'm on the damn team. The Packers didn't play complementary football because their offense sucked. They sucked ass. They stunk up the joint. Like I said, I didn't see the quick passes. I seen you trying to go to Devontae Adams. They were only rushing three, so they were able to double Randall Cobb, and they were able to double Devontae Adams. And he didn't employ. Where was the screen game? Where was the quick slants? Where
What?
was the tight end pops? Like, it was.
Exactly.
He
He and
got out
Aaron
coached.
Jones run screens at least 2 or 3 times a game. So it's
Aaron
like,
Jones had a good game. Aaron Jones had a good game.
but I'm saying on screens, we hear him on screens at least 2 or 3 times a game. I think I remember one screen that was botched. You know what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? It's like they got away from running the ball, and that killed
Yeah.
us. And then the block field goal came through the middle. Now that is
Right
some
up the middle.
high school Pee Wee League shit right there. You can't sustain the middle. You know what I'm saying, to protect
Yeah.
the kicker. My God, man, crazy. Our
Yeah.
special teams they let us down in the big way, man. They let us down in the
You
big
know,
way.
special teams, great coaches say you got to win all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. And the Packers didn't play. They only played the defense, even though at the end I felt like they should have got off the field. But the Packers went 3-and-out. After they scored initially, it was 3-and-out, 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 3-and-out. So, and they had just gone 3-and-out. So I can't really place it. Anytime as a defense, you basically only give up 6 points because that field goal, that block punt resulted in a touchdown. So
Right.
anytime you give up 6 points as a defense, you should win that game. And it
Yes,
just didn't
yes,
happen. It
yes,
didn't
especially
happen.
with our offense. And we had top receivers coming back. We had Valdez coming back. Uh,
Well,
um,
I don't think Valdez played. I don't think Valdez Scantling played. Lazard didn't. First of all, Aaron Rodgers only
I knew he was
targeted.
sorry. He couldn't get the ball to Cobb for shit.
Right.
So somebody got to step
Cobb's
up.
best days are behind him. His best days are
Yeah.
behind him. But I mean,
You know,
come on.
But, I mean, to even bring him back to be a possession receiver, I mean, he couldn't do anything for us. He couldn't get his 5 yards off the slide. He couldn't get,
Right.
he couldn't run the damn out. He couldn't. Everything he did, he was just mirrored. He was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He's
it was an ass whooping.
right.
It was an ass whooping.
He's definitely over the hill as far as receivers are concerned, man. His speed, his burst. Cobb used to go down the field. You know what I'm saying? He
Right.
barely went down the field this game.
Well, they were bracketing him. They were doubling him. So you know, and so somebody else has to make. And people say, well, this is why Aaron Rodgers wants to leave because he didn't have. I'm like, well, you can't complain about that because you got the best receiver in football, and all year you're 13-3, you know, 3 years in a row, and it ain't all you got enough tools to get there, but all of a sudden now when you lose, and so I wanted to talk about Aaron Rodgers. $30 million a year, wants to leave, and I'm at the point now, and I got to this point last summer where I actually said, let him go. I mean, this is year 17, you 39, you about to be 40. It's got to be over sooner or later. I don't think Jordan Love is the answer, but I also hate to see any player hold the organization hostage. And the Packers right now, $40 million over the cap. Got to re-sign Devontae. Got to resign Devondre Campbell. There's several key players. I say let Kevin King walk because I think Eric Stokes, the corner, the first-round draft pick corner who had to step in because Jair was hurt, Jair Alexander. I think he's a keeper. You had Rasul Douglas who played, and Jair will come back. So you let Kevin King walk. I think it's time to lose one of the Smith brothers. Not Za'Darius, but the other one.
Yeah, Preston.
What's his name?
Preston.
I forget his name.
Preston Smith.
Preston. I think it's time to let him go. I think you know, you let these individuals, let some of them go, and you let Rodgers go, and you have so much more money. I feel like they should go get Russell Wilson because he wants out of Seattle. So I feel like go get Russell Wilson.
No.
You take that money you save from Favre, and from Rodgers, and you go and sign some free agents to come in and fill in some holes.
That's a great idea because Russell is familiar with the area. He's played some college ball in Wisconsin, and there's not that much of a drop off.
Right. Well, it's a lot of drop off, but I mean,
well,
Aaron Rodgers is the greatest regular season quarterback you've ever seen, but his playoff play. I mean, let's be honest. In all of the playoff failures that we've had, yes, there's been defensive collapses, but Aaron Rodgers has never played a great game in the playoffs. He's in all their losses, he played shitty. So he has that stigma now, like you're not a good quarterback. He has a pretty bad record in the playoffs. So, you know, I hate to see him go.
Yeah, he had a big opportunity though. So he had a big opportunity to change things, and his play was like you said, his play was terrible. So I'm starting to wonder: is he starting to show that he's on the later side of 35 now? He's about to be 40 next year, right?
Something like that.
Can he still be as good as Tom is at 44, 42, 43, 44?
First of all, I think Tom is an anomaly, but he's also out the playoffs. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is physically as depleted as people say he is. I really believe that Aaron Rodgers will be the MVP again this year because he had a great regular season. That loss is a mixture of things. It's a mixture of Aaron Rodgers. It's a mixture of poor coaching, being out-coached. And like I said, the Packers were just not physical enough. It's just, you think about the Packers won a lot of games this year with a lot of injuries. It caught up to them, you know, with Bakhtiari and that kind of thing. And, you know, Za'Darius came back and Whitney Merciless came back, but, I mean, they wasn't going to give you much. They missed basically the whole season, so they wasn't going to give you much. Jair, but they wasn't going to give you much. So, you know, Tiasha Arthur said Aaron Rodgers messed up because he kept throwing it to Adams. So after a while, the other team caught on and kept covering Adams. He should have threw it to someone else while they were covering Adams. You know what? Devontae Adams is on every scouting report. You know, you better cover. You know, coming in, and most teams did double him all year, and Aaron Rodgers still got it to him.
Yeah, he was still throwing with double coverage.
But when you put the heat on his ass like they was, can't get it like that. You know, he missed on some passes. So she said Favre said he wanted to come back and start playing. Yeah, you know, I grew up during the Favre era. And I was a tremendous Brett Favre fan, but I think Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Brett Favre.
I agree. I
don't think he had the passion.
But he's not number one in my book anymore.
Well, Favre was a crazy redneck, and Aaron Rodgers is a hippie white boy. So you had a Northern California weirdo and a redneck.
Right.
And you know, I think that Aaron Rodgers was just more efficient. He turned the ball over less. I think he's been a better quarterback than Favre. They
But
both only got one Super Bowl.
A smarter quarterback. He didn't throw in the coverage as much
Right.
as Favre did.
But the Packers were a tougher, way more physical team when Brett Favre played for them as well. So the Packers have been kind of you're held. You see the thing about football is you get handcuffed by your success. You can win. Eventually, that cap is going to catch up with you. You got to rebuild. So now the question is, because for me, I feel like Devondre Campbell, who's all pro, who's a middle linebacker, who basically solidified their defense and made them better than they've been in years. I think you got to pay him and re-sign him. If you can keep Devontae, you do. If not, you let him go. But I definitely think that they need to bring in free agents, which is something that Green Bay has not done effectively since Reggie White. But I think they could be okay.
When was the last time we had a really good D-line?
Zadarius. I mean, we got my man. Well, he plays the end, but we got an All-Pro Kenny. Kenny is the best, one of the best in those.
Kenny Clark. Okay,
yeah.
Kenny Clark.
Right, and you got. I like Rashawn Gary. I like what that. So they have a core. They have a core to build around, and it probably looks worse. They say, "Damn, what are we gonna do without Aaron Rodgers?" Well, you look at the 49ers just beat you with Garoppolo, who's bottom. He's not a top quarterback at all.
Yeah.
But when you have a power running game and you have a defense that's fast and physical that you can't block, you get to go to the NFC Championship game. It ain't all about finesse. And I throw fancy passes and this kind of thing. Football has always been a physical sport. Whoever's the most physical is gonna win.
And San Francisco stayed committed to the run.
Well, San Francisco didn't score an offensive touchdown. We can't give them any credit on offense.
Well, the credit we can give them is that they controlled the clock when they had the ball.
On the last drive, they were 3 and out. They sacked Garoppolo. I don't know how many times. They didn't have a 100-yard rusher. They were shut. Their offense was shut down. Last drive, Debo did what he does. On last drive, Debo did what he does.
Right.
But I can't fault the Packers defense if you on the field most of the game because the goddamn offense is 3 and out every fucking drive.
See, that's the thing. They still had a weapon. They still used Debo to gain yards.
They damn near got his head knocked off too. I'd be surprised if Debo is effective this week.
They were passing and throwing the ball, handing the ball to Debo. He was just killing us. But
Debo was on the sideline. They was lighting his ass up. Chris Barnes lit him up. Damn near knocked his head off. I mean, he was on the sideline like, what the hell going on?
Yeah,
give me a large pack of sunflower seeds. Right, I'm Batman.
You got to clock me a few times.
Oh, man. The 49ers are beat up. I'll be surprised if they can play with the Rams this week. And I like the Rams. Stafford I'm not sold on, but the Rams wrote checks. That defense, once again, where's the money spent? Aaron Donald. Look at their defense. Von Miller, come on. Come on. They already had a good D-line. So in the back end, Ramsey, and I mean they got their defense. Their defenses. Even though they got, they tried to give Tampa Bay that game, so Tiasha Arthur said, do you think Aaron Rodgers was playing?
Samantha Brady.
Well, Brady. I got my opinions on Brady. Tiasha Arthur said, you think Aaron Rodgers was playing messy in a few games because at first he was acting like he wanted off the team. He didn't show up for a few practices, but they made him start coming because he had a contract he had to fulfill. What are your thoughts on this? You know what? I think Aaron Rodgers felt a certain kind of way coming into the season, and there's some things that were justified and some of it was not. I think Aaron Rodgers needed to make a statement. I think he made it the wrong way, but ultimately I can't really say it affected his play because of the regular season that he had.
Right.
And I think Aaron Rodgers was passionate, but I also think Aaron Rodgers is the type of quarterback, when you pound on him enough, he kind of gets a look in his eyes, like a deer in headlights. And after that one last drive, I remember I was texting back and forth with one of my homeboys, and I said, it's over. Look at Aaron. Aaron's done. Because they had pounded him into submission. So I don't think Aaron gave up, but I think Aaron knew he was beat. And when listen, you got to understand, when your special teams make the mistakes. Even outside the 2 blocks, there's a 50-yard punt return. Like, and that was the norm for them where they would give up long punt returns. So I think he just kind of knew the writing was on the wall, and he got knocked around, and it's like, damn, man, I'm now my body is black and blue. So he went the way that quarterbacks often do if you put enough pounding on them, and it's like, oh shit, it's a wrap. Now to
Yeah,
follow that, go ahead, Tank.
I think at the beginning of the season he felt some kind of way, but I think towards the end of the season, I think he was kind of changing his mind. It appeared to me.
Okay,
I think if we would have went to the Super Bowl, I think he would have probably thought twice about staying, because
okay,
when he first came back, you could tell he had checked out. He was California all the way out, grew his hair out long and shit. You know what I'm saying?
well, first game of the season, they got a mud hole stumped in their ass by the Saints.
True, and don't forget that before that, in the offseason, when he was saying that he wanted out, one of the teams that he said that he's willing to do a trade with was San Francisco, which was before
Right.
the draft, before they drafted Trey Lance. And for some reason, of course, that didn't pan out. But yeah, he wanted to go home. He wanted to go back to Cali at the beginning of the
So
year.
now people are saying that's where he'll end up, but I think they have a commitment to Trey Lance. I don't think that. I think they have a lot invested, and he's young. Why would you? I
But
mean, they may. There's several destinations. Aaron Rodgers. At this point, I'm over it. He can go wherever he
why
wants
would you not trade Trey Lance for Aaron Rodgers though? Why not trade him?
because you're talking about the next few years, and you're gonna fuck your salary cap all the way up for 3 years when Trey Lance is young and his future is bright, and he's still on a rookie contract. It's all about dollars and cents.
So do you
It's all
keep
about dollars and
rebuilding?
cents.
But see, that's the thing, though. But my position on now my position with the Packers is this: as far as Aaron Rodgers leaving, I don't think he should leave. I think he should resign and stay. And I think that's, of course, that's going to be the Packers push, because rebuilding, no one knows how long it's going to take for your program to rebuild. Everybody says, "Oh, it takes 3 to 5 years to rebuild." That's bullshit. To me, rebuilding a program like ours means make a team that is capable of going to the Super Bowl, not rebuilding a team that barely makes it to the playoffs. If we lose Rodgers, we lose Adams, we're a rebuilding team. We're a rebuilding
I
team.
I, I, I disagree with you for a couple reasons. First of all, I want to say shout out to Tiasha Arthur. She said she shared it 4 times. She supports Outlaw Radio. She listens to Outlaw Radio. By the way, we'll do Outlaw Radio tomorrow night. Shout out to Kamar Carter and Courtney Francois, my co-hosts on Outlaw Radio. So we always do that on Mondays and Wednesdays. So shout out to Tiasha Arthur. We appreciate it, sis. I'm trying to get the sports show off the ground, and I know how this thing goes. So I appreciate you for sharing it. But I do want to say this. This is why I disagree with you, because I think you save so much money. Because first of all, just to say let's re-sign Aaron Rodgers, it's not that simple. Because you're $40 million over the cap, and they already tried to offer Aaron Rodgers the richest contract in the NFL, and he turned it down. But Aaron Rodgers is a selfish player too, because he refuses to restructure his contract so you can pay other people. And Favre always restructured so you can pay other people. So it's not just as simple as re-signing him, but I also believe the end has to come. I mean, it's 17 years. I think that eventually, and this is why I couldn't understand why he was upset that they drafted Jordan Love, because I'm like, bro, you in year 17, you damn near 40. You know, you can't play forever. So I say this. I think that the Packers as an organization know how to win now.
Right.
And I don't think they'll tolerate a losing culture. So what I say is let those players go, take that money, and build a team. Because money talks and bullshit run a marathon.
Right. So
If
that
you
was
got enough money, you can go out and get some free agents, and you got a draft coming up.
true.
You can make some trades. You
Right.
can build a winner. Maybe not a Super Bowl winner next year, but you can build a winner and build on that.
We may not see a winner for a while. If we lose those pieces, we may not see a winner for a while. That quarterback QB connection that we have is so special, and they know each other like the back of their hands, and they proved it all year uh, with the way they played. The receivers getting doubled all the time, with Devontae getting doubled all
Um,
the time. So Dude, we were hurt so bad if we let both of those guys go.
I tell you what,
We got to
my
find some way. We got to find some way to relieve that cap pressure to keep them both. Because if not, we go back in the rebuilding phase. Hey, we're
this
not going to be
this
able
the
to beat
NFL.
Minnesota next year.
This is the NFL. This is the NFL. They've been in business for 100 years. Great players come and go. There's always somebody coming. There's all and you know Minnesota don't even have a coach right now. They got salary cap issues. Detroit is Detroit and Chicago is Chicago.
But
So
why
you
just letting this quarterback go that is so good? That,
he doesn't want to be here.
right.
That's why.
He doesn't want to be here. But if there's a chance we can keep him, why not exploit that chance?
You got to start over sooner or later. It's that girl again, Tank. This is that girl again that abuses you. This is that relationship again.
Okay, but she's wearing that skirt again, though, man. As long as she keep wearing that skirt, man.
Go to the club.
You know,
go to the club. Go out.
As long as she keep wearing that skirt, I don't know what to do.
Go. That's why they make strip clubs. You go somewhere else.
It's like she'll leave.
No.
She'll leave me with the skirt. The rest of the team was the skirt.
Look,
The rest of the team.
we thought the sky was going to fall down when Brett Favre left, and it didn't. So nobody knew Aaron Rodgers was going to turn into what he turned into, but it was time for Favre to go. So it's time for Aaron to go. And you know what? You said that about the games they've won. So rest in peace to my high school football coach Jim Dreblow. I love Dreb. Dreb loved me, changed my life. I know a lot of people say Dreb, great man. Dreb once told me this. He said, one of the problems with football players, he said, what separates a great football player from average football players? Average football players are content.
Right.
If they win a few games, and if they go to a championship but they lose, they're content with that. Right. He said, if they are in the running for an award and they're the runner-up, they're content with that. He said, Kevin, do you know what second place is? I said, no, what is it? He said, that's the first loser. I said, oh, shit, you're right. So I don't care if you win 14 games during the regular season, you're one and done in the playoffs. You have not been back to the Super Bowl since 2010. I'm over it. It's time to go in a different direction. Like you said, that girl is wearing that dress again, but this time I ain't fooled by it.
It's just getting so close. Almost every year, that's the thing.
We're further away this year than we were last year.
Feeling us as fans is that we get so close, especially the last 3 years.
We were close to the last 2 years. Actually, we're getting further away. The past 2 years we was in the NFC Championship game. This year we lost in the divisional round.
Right.
That girl is cheating on you, man. You gotta let her go.
Yeah. It's hard, man.
It's not. This is life.
I don't know. It's something about her, Kev. It's something about those 13 championships. It's something about that frozen tundra. I don't know, man.
The Packers will still be the Packers after Aaron Rodgers leaves. So,
Dude,
but we'll see. I want to get
this when he leaves. Jordan
Love. I don't think so. And he won't be the man. There'll be somebody else. We have a draft. We have free agency. We'll see. We'll find out. I'm not holding on. I guess that's where we differ.
Right? Isn't Garoppolo's going to be a free agent?
Well, nobody wants him. Nobody wants him.
Look forward to.
He might win the Super Bowl, which tells me this. Let's get a prediction. Let's get some predictions because we're getting short on time, and we ain't even talked about my Bucks yet. And it's football season, so we'll get into the Bucks as we move along. Right. But I want to get some predictions. And we didn't even talk about the Bills and the Chiefs playing one of the greatest football games that's ever been played. 25 points scored in 2 minutes.
That was a good game.
I mean, everybody who's seen that game has talked about it, and it was people looking at that as the passing of the torch because Rodgers and Brady are at home. So you got Mahomes and you got Allen in Buffalo, who I've always predicted was a great young quarterback. So the NFC Championship game will be the Rams and the 49ers. I'm going even though I don't like Stafford, I'm going with the defense. I think the Rams will beat them. I think the Rams will go to the Super Bowl on the NFC side.
I agree.
AFC wise, I think the Chiefs will beat the Bengals because neither one of those teams have defenses. But I think Mahomes and Tyreek Hill would just be and the Kittles. I mean, not Kittles, but the tight end from Kansas City. Kittles is with San Francisco, but
Yeah,
Kelsey.
Kansas City's loaded. The tight end, like you
Yeah,
said, Tyreek Hill, the
yeah.
backfield, Little Clyde should be back. Oh yeah,
So
they're gonna be
my
ready.
prediction for the Super Bowl, my prediction for the Super Bowl will be the Rams against the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs. I mean the Rams will come out on top simply because of their defense.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Now I agree. I agree with that prediction, but I would have to go with the Rams. I
I
would have to
picked the
go.
Rams.
Wait, did you just say okay, 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 okay?
Rams over the
Okay.
Chiefs. Rams
Well, the
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Rams over the Chiefs.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I thought you said the Chiefs. My bad. I
No,
agree.
no, no.
I agree. I agree, man.
Right.
The Chiefs defensively, who stands out on the Chiefs that would make a difference in that game?
Well, they got some good D linemen. I forget the defensive tackle who's really good, but they don't have the back end, and especially not a Honey Badger. Tyrone Matthews. Matthew is hurt,
Right.
so they don't have the back end. They don't have the back end. Cooper Cup and Odell Beckham will
They're gonna
run
have a
wild on
field
them.
day. They're gonna have
Yeah,
a field day. Yeah,
right.
if they give Stafford time because he needs time. He's a flat-footed
Yes.
quarterback, with an antiquated motion and throwing motion.
Hmm.
So yeah, if they give him time, man, he's going to pick them apart. But I think the
Yeah.
Chiefs aren't going to go easily though. Their offense is explosive too.
Oh, we got two great games this weekend. There are going to be two great
You
games.
know,
There will be two great games.
that,
As a football fan, which we are, we like to see real football. For
yeah,
people who don't really know the game, maybe not, but I think for football connoisseurs, it's going to be a delight to watch because you're going to see some
yeah,
great plays on both sides made by both teams. And some of y'all just wish the Packers was one of the teams, but they ain't. So
man.
let it
Oh
go,
man, that
let it
hurts,
go,
man.
get over it.
Too soon,
Like
too, man.
in the words of Teddy Pendergrass, looks like another love TKO. I think you better let it go. Let
Man,
it
it's okay though.
go.
I still love the Packers. Still love
Right.
the Packers,
Um,
man.
it's too early. I'm watching the Bucks. I know they've been devastated by. She said, "How did I forget the 49ers?" She might. I just don't think they can beat the Rams because I think that the Rams defense will put too much pressure on Garoppolo and they will get exposed.
Yeah,
The Rams defense is so much better than the Packers. They're so much more
that's true.
physical, and I just think that they are going to
That's
shut
true.
and the 49ers are beat up. That was a physical game. That wasn't
Yeah,
an
it was.
easy win by no stretch of the imagination. They had major players on the sideline towards the end. So I
It was a
think
tough game. Yeah, it was a rough
yeah, it
game.
was a tough game. And I think the Rams will just beat up on them.
Oh,
And
they
because
weren't
their
going to.
best defense the 49ers best offensive lineman, the big brother Trent Williams, I believe, he got hurt. He was hurt. He was hobbling
Right.
around. So and if you got Aaron Donald and Floyd and all these people coming, like yeah, it's gonna be a tough day. So yeah, that's why I say I forget about they. If they made it to the Super Bowl, I'd be surprised. I just think it's gonna be the Rams. I want to talk about the Bucks a little bit before we get out of here. The Bucks have been devastated by injuries. We know Brooke Lopez is hurt. COVID has devastated them. They're in fourth place right now. They're only like 3 games out of first place. I thought that they should have kept Boogie Cousins.
Yes,
I was told
big
that
mistake.
the salary cap issue and the money was the major factor. They could still bring him back. We don't know unless another team decides to keep him. I think it's too early to call the Bucks because at this time last year they were third, fourth. They were third in the East. If they can get healthy and duck the COVID bug and get a big man back, I don't know if Brooke Lopez will be that one,
I
but the
think they can
Bucks
still win the East.
they
I think
could.
they can
They're only
still
three
win the
games
East.
back.
It's early, yeah.
They're only three
It's
games
still
back.
early, and it's
It's
not even
really early.
All Star. It's not even All Star time yet. So it's
And the
still
Bucks
early.
the Bucks always make great moves. I'm looking forward to see those owners of the Bucks. Those white boys come to play. They bring their
Right.
checkbooks with them. They came to play, right? So I think that what they'll do is there's a signing, there's a free agent, there's somebody who's going to be signed that's going to make the difference and bring this thing back to where it should be.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that, and I think the Bucks will make a run. Now my prediction is that they won't win the finals. I think New Jersey will win the finals unless injuries come into play. We don't know. It's a war of attrition. I'm right now. I'm looking at some young teams. The NBA is so much talent. I love Ja Morant.
Right.
That's like I've said when he came into the league. I said he's going to be probably the greatest player in the NBA in 4 or 5 years. But there's so many. LaMelo Ball. There's so many. Embiid. You got. There's the NBA has got so much talent. But I think my prediction for the NBA is that unless there's major injuries, I think the Nets will come out of the East and win it. Yeah, but Middleton. Yeah, the Bucks still have their big three.
I think the Nets got too much going on right now.
Okay.
So I don't think they have the chemistry to be champions. And with Kyrie missing so many games, man, I just don't see. I don't see him making it through a really tough playoff schedule. You know,
And I hear Harden is now frustrated with him. Now I hear Harden is getting frustrated with him.
right? And as emotional as KD can be, I just don't see them having the temperament of a champion. I don't see it. And right now to the East, in Philadelphia, they're you can't really tell what kind of team they are. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Chicago's in first place for a reason. Chicago's pretty good.
Yeah.
You got Golden State out west, and people want to rule the Lakers out.
Chicago, well, Chicago is surging. The Lakers, they'll be lucky they make the playoffs, which is sad. But yeah, Chicago. I'm not worried about.
They knew that they had that old ass roster anyway, so they knew it's signing them old ass dudes.
But didn't you think that once they got Westbrook though, that things would change?
Yeah,
I thought
and he's benched.
I thought they would explode with Westbrook.
Yeah, and he's benched.
You got a guy that averaged a triple double. What two seasons ago? He averaged a triple double.
Well, he averaging triple turnovers now. He's turning the ball over too goddamn much.
Right.
So what we'll do is we're gonna watch these games this weekend. We'll be back next week to talk about it. If you are out there and you're a coach, you're involved with youth development, you work with the youngsters, and you want to come on the show, hit me up. I'll bring you on. I'm gonna be looking to bring area coaches on. I'm gonna be looking to even get some of these young people who are excelling to come on and rap with us and talk with us about sports. And we're going to continue this conversation. One thing about Kevin is I'm too stupid to know when to quit. So whether it's a half a meal or a happy meal, it's the same thing, baby. I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to do it. So shout out to you, man, for and I know Muhammad didn't get to come in tonight. I'll chop it up with him. Shout out to Rick Bradley. I know because I wanted to interview him, but I ain't worried about it. I never do. It is what it is. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out to Tiarsha Arthur, a true People's Network fan. Supporter. I shouldn't even say fan. I hate the word fan. Supporter. My sister. Supporter. Because she supports us and she shares the show. And she was live in the chat room. You don't be thinking sisters be watching sports. We're going to talk about that too. Right. Women in sports. That's going to be something we talk about. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of sisters who like sports. Yeah. So we're going to get on that, man. You got anybody you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Oh, man. I just want to shout out the Milwaukee Marshall High School football team. Shout out the coaching staff. Shout out all of the kids that I trained. And that's pretty much it. Just looking forward to this weekend. Sitting up, relaxing, and watching these games, man, and being ready to talk about it.
All right, man. So, and I want to shout out my Outlaw Radio co-hosts and all the supporters, the Outlaw family out there. We'll be on tomorrow night. And for another episode, Tank and myself will be back next Tuesday. We're going to do the Big Black Sports Show every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. to whenever we choose to cut the machine off. I'm cutting off a little bit early tonight because I got a little business I got to handle. But you better believe that this is going down. So I want to thank you for coming, my brother. And I want to tell people that we need to believe in the law of six degrees of separation. And I said this last night, and I'll continue to reiterate this, is whenever you look out your window, and we got a lot of violence in our community, and we need to get back to common unity in the community because that's part of the word community. And we have to understand every time we look out the window and we say, that ain't got nothing to do with me, or it ain't me, or it ain't my fault, you could be next. And that violence creeps ever so closely to your door. In a city like Milwaukee, we all know each other, whether we know it or not. 6 degrees of separation. If I want to find your ass, I can find you. I
Yes.
guarantee you, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who know you, right?
Yes.
So I want everybody to be more conscious that it's all of us. It's about all of us. It's about us as a community. A slap don't hurt as much as a fist. And so we need to get united and get tight. We got a mayoral election coming up. We on
Yes.
deck to make a lot of decisions in our community, and we need to make them. And
Yes,
we need
sir.
to rededicate ourselves to youth development and helping our kids navigate so that sports won't be their only option. We need to teach them that a plumber makes money too. A
Yes.
mason and an electrician makes money too. It ain't all about playing sports. So we need to teach those lessons to our brothers and sisters. And like I always say at the end of Outlaw Radio, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. You're either with us or you're against us. And if your criticism of the black community outweighs your contribution, you're probably a coon. I will see y'all tomorrow night on Outlaw Radio, man. Peace and love.
Peace.